Hello, this is the Death Row and Executions channel. My name is Paco Rivera. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates and more Death Row news. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Also, check out my other channel here on YouTube called The Maximum Sentence, where I cover recent crimes and convictions. There will be a link for that as well. Because the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, has recently signed another death warrant, there are now 2 executions scheduled for October 14 of this year. One is Lance Shockley. A presentation on his case appeared on this channel last week, and the other is Samuel Smithers, the case that I will be discussing today. You know, years ago, while I was interacting with people of law enforcement, I had a good friend who was a sergeant with the police, and he said something that has always stuck with me. He said, nobody knows what a criminal looks like. In these times, he might be a man with a nice haircut and a 3-piece suit and tie. I remember another friend saying, you have to be careful who you open the door for. I don't care, he said, if it's an 82-year-old gray-haired grandma ringing the doorbell. You have to be careful. Yet another friend who said to me that some of the most dangerous people in the world are walking around holding a Bible in one hand. He said this. And it was that specific memory of what that friend told me that came back to me when I began researching the case that I'm going to talk to you about today. By the year 1996, Samuel Lee Smithers was 43 years old, and he was a Baptist deacon, a servant of the church in Plant City, Florida. Smithers was described as very likable. Everybody liked him. Smithers was born in 1953 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where he grew up and lived in a very strict and religious household. In Tennessee, Smithers met a woman named Sharon, and they married when she was 17 years old and he was 20. They also adopted a son that they named Jonathan. Smithers, it was determined by doctors, was not able to have children. The family later settled in Plant City, Florida, just outside of Tampa, where Smithers worked as an electrician and handyman and became a deacon of the local Baptist church there. So 23 years after that marriage, while at church, Smithers met a woman named Marion Whitehurst, a fellow churchgoer, and she hired Smithers to mow the lawn and do other handyman work around a very large, remote, and vacant property that she owned in Plant City. The property was 27 acres and had several ponds around its perimeter. The property also had a locked gate, and Marion Whitehurst gave Smithers a key to the gate, but not a key to the house. But Smithers would make his way in and out of the house anyway, as you will soon learn. I'm going to jump ahead now to the discovery of 2 dead bodies, the stories that Smithers told detectives about how the 2 women were killed, and then I'll go back to what really happened. On May 28, 1996, the woman who hired Smithers left work and decided to stop by her vacant property. The gate was locked, so she used her key to get in and saw her handyman's pickup truck parked outside the carport. She walked over to the carport and found Samuel Smithers cleaning up some tools, specifically an axe, according to reports. Smithers told Marion that he was there to cut down some tree limbs that she had asked to be removed. During the conversation, Marion noticed a large pool of blood on the ground inside the carport, and she asked about it. Smithers told her that someone must have come around and killed an animal there on her property. Smithers then told Marion that he was going to clean up the blood. Now, this is important because some reports are saying that when Marion Whitehurst drove away from her property, she called police because she was suspicious about the pool of blood she saw and that Smithers must have done something to cause it. But that is not the case. In fact, The case files are not clear if Marion had called police because she wanted to know why someone was killing animals on her property, or if there was some foul play involved on the part of Samuel Smithers. I'm more inclined to believe that Marion called police because of animals killed on her property, because from my understanding, police took quite a while to arrive on the property to investigate. It seems the call wasn't taken very seriously. As a matter of fact, when a police officer, or sheriff, I believe is what is stated in the reports, when the sheriff arrived and met with Marion on her property, the entire carport area where Marion said she saw a pool of blood was already all cleaned up, just like Smithers said he was going to do. And that had to take a while. But then the alert officer, or sheriff, spotted something suspicious. A drag mark on the ground leading to a pond. Something, or someone, was dragged along the ground, and the officer followed the drag mark and saw a female body floating on the pond. That woman was later identified as 31-year-old Cristy Cowan, who made her living by accepting money for intimate services. I'm not going to use the P word here. Detectives and crime scene investigators were called in, and that included a dive team to search the waters inside the pond. I'm not sure if they were just following protocol to search for weapons or something else, but what they ended up finding was another female body. And that body was later identified as 24-year-old Denise Roach, who also worked as someone who accepts money for intimate services. I hate to have to use these terms as the description, but it is a detail that can't be avoided because there would be too much confusion as to why these women so easily agreed to go to a house on a remote property with this man. During the search inside the house, investigators found a ripped condom wrapper in a bedroom and some semen stains on the carpet. All that was collected for DNA evidence. Also, detectives would later obtain video camera footage from a convenience store showing Sam Smithers and the woman floating on the pond, Cristy Cowan, together in the store about 6 o'clock that night, about an hour before Marion Whitehurst arrived on her property to discover a pool of blood in the carport near Smithers. Anyway, naturally, high up on the suspect list was the man who said that he was going to clean up all the blood and gave a story about an animal being killed. So detectives arrived at Sam Smithers' home and asked him to go with them to the station for questioning. Smithers agreed under one condition, that his wife be allowed to be with him. I've been pounding my head trying to come up with a theory about why Smithers insisted that his wife sit beside him during questioning into a murder investigation, and I can't come up with a reason. If any of you have a theory on that, I'd love to hear it. Anyway, the detectives agreed, and during questioning on that first night, he denied having anything to do with the two dead women. Smithers was asked to return the following morning for a polygraph that he agreed to. Smithers again insisted that his wife be present. Smithers failed the polygraph terribly and began to confess, or better said, give a story, because they always have a story. Smithers said that Denise Roach arrived on the property a few weeks earlier and told him that the owner gave her permission to live there. He said that he tried to get her to leave, but she wouldn't, and that when he tried to kick her out a few days later, that she attacked him and punched him in the face. Smithers said that he pushed her away from him, she fell back into a wall, knocking a shelf over, and that the shelf fell and hit her on the head, causing her to go unconscious. Smithers said that when he returned the next day, he saw that she was still there, and he realized that she was dead. So he panicked and got rid of the body by tossing it into the pond. So if I got this right, Smithers here is shooting for a self-defense claim, and the most they can charge him with is tampering with a human corpse. The medical examiner concluded that Denise's body had been in the pond from 7 to 10 days. She was killed about 2 weeks before Cristy Cowan, who was found in the pond on the day that she was killed. Denise's face and skull were fractured. There were 16 puncture wounds to her skull, and there was evidence of manual strangulation. So all this from a shelf that fell from the wall and hit her in the head. Detectives concluded during the investigation that Denise was picked up by Samuel Smithers at a motel in Tampa on May 12th. With regard to Cristy Cowan, Smithers told a story about how he was driving home from work when he spotted her next to a car that had broken down. He agreed to help her, and they first went to a convenience store. That's where they were captured on video, later obtained by the detectives. Smithers said that once they were back inside his pickup truck, that Cristy demanded that he give her all his money or she is going to call the cops and say that he kidnapped her and indecently assaulted her. I'm not using the R word here either. Anyway, Smithers said that he then drove to the property to hand over his money to her, but that she wasn't satisfied with the amount. So she threw a drink at him and attacked him. He said he picked up an axe that was nearby while he was being attacked and struck her in the head. So once again, self-defense and tampering with a corpse by throwing her in the pond. Oh, he's trying his best, isn't he? A medical examiner determined that there were signs that Cristy was still barely alive when she was tossed unconscious into the pond, and aside from blunt force trauma injuries, drowning had also contributed to her death. She had an injury to her eye, a laceration under her lip, blunt impact injury to her jaw, an axe chop wound on the top of her head which penetrated her brain, an axe chop wound behind her ear, and signs of manual strangulation. Detectives determined that Cristy Cowan had been picked up at a motel in Tampa that same night, the same motel where Denise had been picked up 2 weeks earlier, and that Cristy was picked up about an hour before Smithers and Cristy appeared on a convenience store video. At trial, about 2 years after the crimes were committed, Smithers changed his story again. His story to the court now was that an unidentified man forced him to help out in killing and disposing of the two women. According to Smithers, the unidentified man, referred to as Mr. X in the court records, had threatened to kill his family if he didn't comply. The jury did not buy it.
So each count that the defendant be sentenced to death.
Samuel Smithers has been referred to in the media as the Deacon of Death because he was seen as a faith-driven, kind, family man, husband, and father who attended and assisted at a Baptist church regularly. A New York Times reporter wrote a book on the case called Deacon of Death, Sam Smithers, the Serial Killer Next Door. Investigation Discovery has done 2 episodes on the case in their series Deadly Sins, an episode called Deacon of Death, and also Deadly Sins No Forgiveness, an episode called Kill Me, Kill Me Not. Since his arrest, police have also tried to link Smithers to several other unsolved murders of women in the area, but have not been able to. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more death row and upcoming execution stories so that you're alerted when the next one comes out. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. My name is Paco Rivera. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye for now.